House this morning with education news. There was a whole bunch of it. Big activity in the House. Let's unpack it all.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in education this week. The House voted on a big $800 million package on the House floor. Lots of debate. Took 4 or 5 hours for them to get that done. What do you need to know at home is that you should be excited about the fact that the legislature wants to invest more in public education. What you should not be excited about is the fact that they want to give away about $300 million in a tax giveaway to some of the wealthiest Oklahomans that send their kids to private schools. It would be a tax voucher for private schools. It's unnecessary. And think about that, $800 million that we're already spending on this. We're also still trying to do a grocery tax and maybe lower the income tax. We can't do it all.
There's a whole bunch there, and he used the V word, which I knew was going to come up, the word vouchers. Speaker says it's tax credit. What is going on?
So here's what's happened. I've been saying on this show for a long time, what we're going to do is deliver more parental choice and more money for education, and the legislature is on their way to delivering that. We're talking about the largest education budget in the history of the state of Oklahoma, a larger budget than when proposed by Ryan Walters or Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister, and parent choice for every citizen in the state of Oklahoma. At the end of the day, this was part of a hard-working plan that really started last year with the Senate, who did a lot of work to get us to this point. Now we have the House was able to pass this plan. Every citizen, every student in the state of Oklahoma is going to get funding as a result of this.
Okay, so it's a big old good one in terms of amount of money that's going to be spent. Senator Pugh has a bit of a different tack, so people are asking, what's next?
Well, I will say I don't think Senator Pugh does have a little bit of a different tact. I think he's a huge supporter of public education and of parental choice. I think when you look at what the Senate did last year with Pro Tem Greg Treat doing a phenomenal job trying to push forward this agenda forward, the Senate now is going to take a look at this, and I think all the work that has been done, they've been a huge part of. I think we are going to get this across the Senate, the finish line. I think they're going to look at other things and find ways to continue to improve public education. This is the process. This has been called the House plan, but I just disagree with that. I think if this gets to the finish line, which I think it will, it's a win for the Senate, it's a win for the House, but more importantly, it's a win for the citizens of the state of Oklahoma.
You notice the love between the House and the Senate today. What are your thoughts about what's next?
Well, what's next is what should have happened in the first place, and that is the Senate and the House and the governor and the state superintendent of education all getting together and having an education plan. But what we've had right now is a House plan, a Senate plan, a state superintendent of education plan, and a governor's plan, and everyone keeps using talking points like school choice. School choice is just that. It's a talking point. We already have it. We have open transfer. You can move to different districts. You can send your kid to private school. You can send your kid to religious school. We have plenty of school choice. This is a tax giveaway to wealthy Oklahomans.
Well, okay. Well, it was mostly a love fest on our first segment. In our second segment, we're going to talk more about bipartisanship. Feel the good vibes this morning. Come back and we'll tell you about it. Welcome back. Well, lost within the tax cut, which we haven't been talking about today, and all the education news, is the fact there's still criminal justice reform. You guys know something about that, having done legislation in the past. But there's something happening in a bipartisan manner right now.
Yeah, so we're really excited. As we talked about on the show with my friend, former Representative Dunnington, we were leaders in criminal justice reform with the retroactivity bill. I've introduced with Representative Monroe Nichols a bipartisan bill that would give discretion to law enforcement officers as to whether or not they're going to serve misdemeanor warrants for things like fines, fees, and costs, or whether or not they can just tell an individual, you have this 10-year-old warrant, go get it taken care of so I don't have to arrest you. We did a great job getting people out of DOC. This is about getting overcrowded, nonviolent people out of our jails. So when you hear that there's nothing bipartisan going on in the Oklahoma legislature, that's not true. There is. And by the way, full support of Sheriff Tommy Johnson. I can't even take credit. This was his idea. We have a great Oklahoma County sheriff.
Nonviolent.
Nonviolent, only
okay.
Nonviolent.
All right, you're one of the daddies of that retroactive bill a few years ago. Your thoughts about his and Representative Monroe's legislation?
Yeah, I'm excited to see that we're still working on criminal justice reform. It's something that we still have many steps to go. This bill in particular, I think, will be helpful. And I'll just give you an example. Having talked to Sheriff Tommy Johnson as well, he went to pick up someone, or he pulled someone over the other day and found out they had a misdemeanor warrant for an unpaid fishing license. But the way that the law is set now, had to take him in and book him into jail for an unpaid fishing license. This is the kind of stuff that's just common sense. This law here will allow him, with discretion, to say, hey, go pay your warrant without having to take him into jail, further clogging up the system. This is a great piece of legislation. I'm glad to see it move.
Okay, well, as we've been having our shows the last few weeks, we've seen the clock ticking, and now we're coming up to the first hurdle in the legislative session.
Yeah, those of you watching at home that see us each week are probably wondering, are they still at the Capitol? Last year it seemed like that we were there a lot. First hurdle, this is the first deadline that comes up. So this is week 4. You've had committee work that's going on. You have standing committees. Those committees have until Thursday when they're done to get bills out of those committees so that they can be heard on the House or the Senate floor. If they don't move out of those committees, those bills are what we would say are dead for the year right now. So if there are bills in committees, they have to be moved this week. It's the first big hurdle because it takes us from that 3,027 or so bills that got filed down to a much more manageable number.
Say, are the bad ones getting killed right now? Is that what's happening?
That really is what's happening. One of the things we try to do on this show, and we're so thankful for you watching, is let you know what's going on in your state government. As you know, we focus heavily on that. So that is what's happening. Our process is set up to kill bills, not pass bills. And that's the way it should be. At the end of the day, I believe you are free to do whatever you want, and government should be as small and limited as possible. So the first thing we have coming up is in both chambers, the Senate and the House, any bill that's not out of committee by Friday, by this next Thursday, is dead, unless they can find another way around the rules, which we will keep you advised on the show.
Okay, so next week we'll talk about zombie bills and how that all works out. Hey, thanks for watching Your Vote Counts. See this again at news9.com/YourVoteCounts. Follow me on Twitter @MitchellTalks.